Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our revered speaker, His Grace Raj Mukunda Prabhu, and all glories to the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Devotees, we thank you for being here today. It's a Boxing Day, even though we're not going to be in the ring, but it's a Boxing Day where loved ones parcel packages and deliver to their loved ones. And we have Raj Mukunda Prabhu who has a beautiful package for us today. So, in the form of Krishna Katha. Well, devotees have been a little late to Bhagavatam discourses, but eventually they'll be here. So let me see. Prabhuji, I know you usually like to share something, so we'll give you that right in case you have to share something. You may be able to do that. Let's see. All right. All right, Hare Krishna. So, Prabhuji, you may take it over from here. You have two verses for today, I believe, 16 and 17.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome devotees to today's Bhagavatam class, and we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 5, verse 16 and 17. Sa Vishwa Janma Shishti Sama Ratrena Karvatra Pragrashaki Karka Karmani Atipurshani Yani Ishvara
Is it looking back, looking back?
Sa, the personality of Godhead. Vishwa, universe. Janma, creation. Shishti, maintenance. Samyam Artha, view with a view of perfect control. Gartha, accepted. Avatara, incarnation. Praghita, accomplished with. Sakti, potency. Shakti, potency. Chakra, performed. Karmani, transcendental activities. Adipurshani, superhuman. Yani, of all those. Ishvara, the Lord. Kirtya, please chant. Tani, all those. Mayam, unto me. Kindly chant all those superhuman, transcendental activities of the Supreme Controller, the personality of Godhead, who accepted incarnations fully equipped with all the potency for the full manifestation and maintenance of the cosmic creation. Therefore, by His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Vidura was undoubtedly very eager to hear about Lord Krishna in particular, but he was overwhelmed because Lord Krishna had just passed away from the visible world. He therefore wanted to hear about him in his Purusha incarnations, which he manifests with full potency for the creation and maintenance of the cosmic world. The activities of the Purusha incarnation are but an extension of the activities of the Lord. This hint was given by Vidura to Maitreya because Maitreya could not decide which part of the activities of Lord Krishna should be chanted. Shri Sukha Uvacha Sa evam Bhagavan Prishta Shatrakarva Muni Pamsam Nishraya Arthena Tammaham Mannayan. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Sa, he, Evam, thus, Bhagavan, the great sage, Prishta, being requested, Shatra, by Vidura, Kaushwara, Maitreya, Muni, the great sage, Pamsam, for all people, Nishraya, for the great welfare, Arthena, for that, Tam, unto him, Aha, narrated, Bahu, greatly, Manayan, honoring, Manyan, honoring. Translation by Sukadeva Goswami said, the great sage Maitreya Muni, after honoring Vidura very greatly, began to speak at Vidura's request for the greatest welfare of all people. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The great sage Maitreya Muni is described here as Bhagwan because he surpassed all ordinary human beings in learning and experience. Thus, his selection of the greatest welfare service for the world is considered authoritative. The all-exclusive welfare service for the entire human society is devotional service to the Lord. And, as requested by Vidura, the sage described the same very appropriately. The sage described the same very appropriately. Om Agyan Timidandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bishtam Safitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamelam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sujivam Salvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrinda Vaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tirubhascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All the glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. And thank you so much for joining today's Bhagavatam class. So today I hope to share with you about these two verses. And we are focusing on this second verse here. Or two things really we're learning from uh, the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya. So we're here on, I think this is the wrong one. Sorry, this is yesterday's. So here we're learning Vidura's eagerness to hear about Lord Krishna in particular. But he was overwhelmed because Lord Krishna had just passed away from the visible world. So there was a lot of grief, there was a lot of sadness when Lord Krishna had passed away from the world. And that was very significant because when Lord Krishna had passed away, it meant that Kali Yuga had begun. It meant that Kali Yuga had started, and the light had left the world. So therefore, there was a lot of remorse. There was a lot of sadness. The devotees were feeling quite sad. So we hear in the beginning of the Bhagavatam about how Arjuna, when he approached Yudhishthira Maharaj when he came back from Dwaraka, and he was feeling really sad and really remorse, and he was quite visibly upset. And he was Yudhishthira Maharaj was asking him, "What's wrong? Like, are you okay? Is something wrong? Did something happen? Something you should be telling us." And also Yudhishthira Maharaj was noticing, that yeah, there was so much inauspiciousness going on, he was looking at different signs, and it's described in the Bhagavatam, the various different signs that were coming out, um, that were basically, highlighting the inauspiciousness of the Lord leaving the planet. And this was the beginning of, the starting of this era, this time without the Lord. And the devotees were really feeling that. And Arjuna was so remorse. But then when he started asking, Yudhishthira Maharaj started asking Arjuna, like, what happened? Like, and Arjuna then started beginning to remember the Lord, and he remember his pastimes and remember his activities. So, and he was remembering it in separation. He was remembering Krishna's pastimes away from Krishna, Krishna not being on the planet. And here we can also see Vidura was very eager to hear about the Lord's pastimes, but he was being overwhelmed by Krishna not being there physically. So he was also feeling this mood of separation, this mood of longing to hear the Lord's pastimes. And from this sentence, we can really understand how we should all try and long to hear from the Lord's pastimes, because the Lord's pastimes are so transcendental, they're so deep, they're so nourishing, they're nourishing to our hearts, they're nourishing to our souls. And we have to ask ourselves, how eager am I to learn about the Lord's pastimes? How eager am I to hear about Krishna? How eager am I to hear about what the Lord is saying? Now, we know it's very easy in our day-to-day lives to talk about a lot of nonsense things and hear a lot of nonsense things, we hear about the news, we like to hear about gossip, we like to hear about, what our neighbors are doing and what our family friends are doing. And it's very easy, we're very eager to hear about these kind of topics. And even as devotees, it's very easy to get sucked into the mentality of hearing about and talking about other people and being eager to hear this kind of pastime, mundane pastime, this prajalpa. But we can see here from Vidura's example that he's very much, eager to hear about the Lord, and that's what our mood should be. When we're asking to speak about activities, we should hear about, okay, how can I hear more about Krishna? Or, and like when we say this point, it could also mean, it doesn't just mean hearing about Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan or Dwaraka, or it doesn't just mean hearing about Krishna's pastime in as Lord Chaitanya in Mayapur or in Jagannath Puri, or any pastime from the CC. Yes, that's also included. They are also pastimes, but it also extends to hearing about Krishna's interaction with the devotees. how has Krishna come into the life of the devotee? How has he appeared to the devotee? What realization has that devotee had that has given him faith in seeing Krishna, faith in believing Krishna, faith in experiencing Krishna? Therefore, when we hear about Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, we are also can be keen to hear about what Prabhupada is saying. What was the Prabhupada stories, and the more we hear and relish how actually Krishna was present in his form, he was present in his Shakti in empowering Srila Prabhupada and being there with him to being there with him to um, conduct the pastimes. And then also we hear about the devotees' pastimes. We hear about Srila Prabhupada's pastime, but also the devotees. We hear about when the Hare Krishna movement started. We hear about how all of these pastimes of Krishna helping the devotees. The stories about how when they couldn't pay the rent, the devotees couldn't pay the rent in America, and they were struggling for money. But then once they went out to the street and they had overdue 2, 3 months rent, they were about to be kicked out, and all of a sudden there was money flying from the sky. There was like $100 bills just randomly just dropping from the sky. So when we hear pastimes like this, then also we get inspiration, and we have to also be eager to hear about these kind of pastimes because it involves Krishna's hand directly. But also we can go one step further and we can hear about the pastimes of the devotees that we have here and now, you know. So we have the marathon, the Christmas marathon that just came, and many people were on doing book distribution, and when many people were, hitting the streets preaching. And there's many, many stories that we can understand and hear about the pastimes of how Krishna helped the Sankirtan devotees, or maybe they met someone that somehow had been, connected to the devotees but didn't know, or had been listening to the mantra, or knew of Krishna but was hadn't met devotees yet, and this became the part of their spiritual journey. So there's many, many different stories, and we can also be eager to hear about that pastime as well. So undoubtedly, what we are hearing from here, or from this particular verse and this line, is being eager to hear about Krishna's pastimes, and understanding what it means to really dwell deep in hearing Krishna's message. And this is, the conversation between Maitreya Muni and Vidura isn't an ordinary conversation, and it's not between two ordinary people. Who was Vidura? Vidura was, in fact, an incarnation of Lord Yamraj. And Yamraj is a devotee of the Lord. He serves the Lord. He has a very thankless task of, judging the souls and taking them back and giving them the acquired destinations and punishments. And nobody likes to see Yamraj, because um, he's sort of coming to take you away, or no one likes to see the Yamadutas. But Yamraj is he's a servant of the Lord. He's one of the Mahajans. He's very, very learned. We hear about the pastimes of Ajamil when Yamaraj's Yamadutas, they reached Ajamil, and Ajamil had performed many, many sins, and they were ready to take him, to the hellish planets and give him what he deserves. But then, like with all devotees, the Vishnadutas also turned up just a bit late. They came on devotee time. They were late because that's the devotee time, or they maybe wanted to give Ajamil a bit of a lesson. If we turn up on time, the same time as as the Yamadutas, then there won't be as much impact, you know. He won't be as scared of the Yamadutas. So their devotees, the Vishnu Dutas, they turned up a bit late, but nonetheless, better late than never. And yeah, we hear about that conversation. And Yamaraj then explains to the Yamadutas how anybody who thinks of the Lord and remembers the Lord should not be touched. You know, anyone who is connected to the Lord shouldn't be taken to any of these kind of conditions. So therefore we know, okay, Vidura is, so Yamaraj is, sorry, a very learned person, and he is a servant of the Lord. So he knows all of this philosophy, and he knows so much about Krishna consciousness. He's a devotee. But unfortunately, you know, Yamaraj was cursed. He was cursed because he maybe you guys you're talking about this chapter, so you may have heard of this story before already. Maybe about Vidura is already mentioned, but I'll just quickly share. Vidura was cursed because he had wrongly Yamaraj had wrongly punished a boy. Um, and yeah, he gave unfair judgment, and because of that, the rishi, and I forgot his name, the rishi's name, he had cursed Yamraj to take birth in a lower family, and to come down to the earth and yeah, pay for the consequences of that punishment. And from the Mahabharata, we understand that Vidura was very learned. He knew so much. He really understood what was going on, and he was a devotee of the Lord. When Krishna came to for peace, you know, when Krishna came for peace to Duryodhana, he came to Hastinapur. And when he came to Hastinapur, you know, Krishna had a choice where to stay. Either he could stay with Duryodhana or he could stay with Vidura. And he chose to stay with Vidura. Why? Because he was a devotee of the Lord. We hear about the pastime when Vidura's wife was trying to feed Krishna. And Vidura's wife, what was she doing? She's trying to give him bananas. And she would peel the banana, she would give him the banana skin and throw away the banana because she was in ecstasy of being with Krishna. So yeah, from this we also understand who was Vidura. Vidura was very potent. He was Yamraj. Yamraj is actually the brother of Yamuna, Yamuna Devi in Vrindavan. So Yamuna is also known as to be black in color, darkish in color, and so is Yamaraj, because they're both siblings. They actually are the children of the sun god, and yeah, it's interesting actually because you know, Yamaraj and Yamuna, they once they were, I think I heard the story once they were together, and Yamuna Devi had requested Yamaraj that, you know, if anybody, please grant me this, that if anybody takes a bath in my waters, then they don't have to see you. And it's not a nice thing to say, like, hey, like, I want nobody to see you. But yeah, that is Yamaraj's duty. So yeah, these are very, very auspicious and very learned people. Vidura was very learned because he was Yamraj himself. So he's not ordinary person, and this conversation is no ordinary conversation. So we have to learn from Vidura's example because Vidura is undoubtedly, like says in this verse here, requesting for transcendental knowledge and to hear about transcendental activities about Krishna, about Ishvara. And he was really absolute keen to hear what Maitreya Muni has to say. And yeah, so this is what we can understand from this sort of this purport uh, about the Lord's pastimes and the eagerness of the pastimes, and essentially how we should try and be really eager to hear about the Lord's pastimes. Maybe you can all reflect in yourselves. How eager are you to hear about Krishna Katha? What questions do you ask when you meet devotees, when you meet seniors, you know? So we also can see from this conversation, Vidura is asking his senior something, right? So there's many things, topics he could ask about, right? Like, so we have to reflect, what questions do I have? Now, based on the level of questions you have, is the quality of the answers you get. Okay, so many questions or many um, things that are on our mind sometimes aren't necessarily the most relevant or aren't necessarily the most thing that are going to help us grow and progress. So the quality of the questions depends on the quality of your answer. The quality of the questions depends on the quality of your consciousness. Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, I believe he asks 17 questions in the Bhagavad Gita. And if you study the questions he asks, they're very deep questions. They're very deep questions, why am I here? What is my purpose? Um, should I stay or should I go? Should I fight or should I not? What is the mind? The mind is confusing. How do you navigate the mind? How do you navigate the different energies? Questions about, okay, Krishna, please show me your form. Show me your universal form. Now please show me your two-arm form, your four-arm form. So yeah, you see the different questions that Arjuna asks, and they're all relevant and appropriate questions. And the same way, like we have to reflect on, what questions am I asking? What is the quality of my questions? And then that will determine the quality of your consciousness, you know? Um, yeah, late, like today or even lately, I always try and think, okay, I'll give you an example. Like we do this thing. Um, Maybe you guys have seen it on YouTube, maybe you haven't on Instagram. If not, you can look it out. It's on my Instagram. And what we do is we ask people to ask a question to the Bhagavad Gita. So we take a mic, we take a video, and we put it in front of them and we say, hey, ask a random question to this book. And what they do is they take the book and then they ask the question and they open it to a random page and see if it answers their question. And it's interesting because 9 times out of 10, it somehow it answers their question, it links back. And it's interesting because one thing I noticed when doing this activity or this project was you can really see the level of consciousness of someone based on the questions they're asking. You can see how how advanced they are based on what they've asked. Some people will ask like, hey, like like, am I going on holiday next year? I don't know if I'm gonna go on holiday. Or if I'm gonna get a big house, should I move into this big house or not? Um, sometimes we get them kind of questions. But some people ask deep questions like, what is God? Or, what is the essence of life? Or how do you, some people may ask, okay, how do you go back to Godhead? How do you go back to Krishna? How do you love Krishna? So these are some of the questions that people ask. And so you can see based on what we ask, especially our seniors, especially when we have a chance to hear about the Lord, what are we going to ask? What do we want to hear? What are we eager to hear? So in that sense, yeah, it's really important, ask yourself, what am I asking? When I meet senior devotees, or when I'm in Sangha, what questions am I asking? What do I really want to know about? Do I want to know about how to reach Bhava? Am I really interested in how can I reach Bhava? How can I reach Krishna Prema? How can I understand the Lord more? How can I hear about him more? What are our topics of the day? You know, you can even do an activity, maybe you can just reflect in yourself, what was the last question I asked when I met a devotee? What did I ask him? Yeah, so I've been reflecting on that recently, so I thought I'd share that with you. You know, I am trying to personally, everything I'm saying, I'm preaching to myself, and I'm personally trying to be more conscious of the questions I'm asking, especially when I'm around senior devotees. But actually, even not even senior devotees, even other devotees who are maybe, I mean, everyone is senior in my eyes, but even maybe even not if it's a sannyasi, but maybe even if it's a devotee that we meet. Maybe you can ask them, how was their Sankirtan? Do they have any stories? Do they have any reflections? Maybe they went to a dham, like maybe they learned something there. Maybe they have been meditating on something that we can learn from. So yeah, it's really, really crucial and important, especially when we're around sannyasis. We have to really think, okay, what am I going to ask? What do I really need to help me? How can I ask about Krishna? How can I hear more and go deeper into my spiritual practice and my sadhana, and ultimately hearing about the Lord's activities. So now we have this verse here, um, and here Sukadeva Goswami is speaking, and he's speaking about Maitreya Muni. After honoring Vidura very greatly, began to speak at Vidura's request for the welfare of all people. So, before I speak about the welfare of people, let's understand what Prabhupada says in this purport. The great sage Maitreya Muni described here as Bhagavan because he has um, because he has surpassed all ordinary human beings in learning and experience. So the word Bhagavan is a bit of a loaded word in the sense because Prabhupada sometimes makes the statement that when we hear the Bhagavad Gita, we hear Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Now, Srila Prabhupada says in the commentary the reason why Vyasadeva puts Bhagavan Uvacha is because he's addressing Krishna as Bhagavan, as the Lord, as a supreme personality of Godhead. Otherwise, why would he say he is Bhagavan? And in this context, Bhagwan can have various different connotations. Other people could like can also be called Bhagavan, like we're seeing from here, but that's based on him having surpassed all ordinary human beings in learning and experience. So basically saying, he has an authority because why? Because he's a learned sage. He's reached that position or that identity. So in one sense, he's got all the qualities of the Lord, but not obviously in the full. But you're saying in one sense you could say he's become so learned that he's understood what it means to connect with the Lord and connect with Krishna. So therefore he's got that title and he's got that authority to speak about the Lord. And sorry, not just to speak about the Lord, but he's got that authority to be said, okay, Bhagavan, what is he going to say? And he's got that authority to give us the direction and give us the essence of what it means to what it means for the great welfare of all people. So what does that mean, the great welfare of all people? I'm just going to turn on my lights. Getting dark. So yeah, what does it mean, the great welfare of all people? And here says that the welfare of the entire human society is devotional service to the Lord, as requested by Vidura. The sage described the very same appropriately. So devotional service is, in essence, the all-inclusive welfare service of entire human society. This word all-inclusive. All-inclusive is a very interesting word. All-inclusive means, everything is encompassed in this one activity, in this one place. Sometimes we hear the word all-inclusive when there's, they talk about hotels. They say, oh, it's all-inclusive. All-inclusive means you don't have to go anywhere. it's all included in this one place. Like, when you have an all-inclusive hotel and you stay there, it means you don't have to go anywhere for food. It's all included in this one place, right? That's what all-inclusive means. So here it's translating, we're saying all-inclusive welfare service for the human society is devotional service. So that's what devotional service is. Um, why is this point so relevant and what does it mean? Well, human society is suffering. Human society is going through a lot of difficulties. It always has. And more we're seeing how this from the start of Kali Yuga till now, there's a big degradation. There's birth, old age, death, and disease, of course. There's threefold miseries. There is so much disturbances. There's war. There's mental health problems. Like right now we have war in Ukraine. We have war in uh, Palestine. We have many wars in Africa. Actually, interesting, man. There's so many wars going on, we don't even know about them. We don't hear about them in the public eye. We only hear about the Western ones that affect the Western countries, but there's so many wars going on. It's not that just in certain medias that we hear about certain wars. No, this world is full of misery. Just because you haven't experienced a war, you're probably in a lucky minority. Many people experience war. Many people experience tribulations or natural disasters, um, or calamities from other human beings. You know, uh, I could go on. There's a list. You get the point. You get the point. There's so many troubles. The World Health Organization. Okay, if something external is not going to get you, then something internal is going to get you. The World Health Organization, it recently was saying that the mental health is the topmost problem right now in society. It's like the worst. It's become the worst, especially in Western countries. People are just so mentally sick. Children are suffering, people are lost. You can see it on the streets, you can see it. I work as a medical practitioner and I can see, okay, many people come to me for depression and anxiety and stress and so it's a world full of misery. So therefore, how do we combat that suffering? So we understand why is there suffering? Why is there need of welfare work? But then the question is, how do you deal with that welfare work? How do you treat? How do you um, overcome the miseries that are happening in this material world? What is the solution? And the solution, okay, let's explore. What is the solution? Okay, what do people try? Some people are, okay, in the mode of ignorance level, some people might try to take drugs. They want to numb the pain, right? They want to numb themselves away from the reality. So maybe they're drinking alcohol, maybe they're taking drugs, maybe they're gambling, maybe they're visiting prostitutes. So people are looking for, maybe they're eating meat. I'm saying not people just don't eat meat because they're suffering. Everyone is suffering, but they want that taste. They want to go in that deep dive into the mode of ignorance. Why? To stop that suffering. And then you have, maybe in the mode of passion. Okay, so what do people do? Maybe they try and earn lots of money. They try and get a good job. They try and enjoy in different ways. Maybe through a partner, maybe through different levels of enjoyment, maybe going on holiday, maybe going on watching a movie, you know? So sometimes people like to enjoy even in the mode of passion. And then you have enjoyment in the mode of goodness. So, okay, yeah, maybe you might give to some charity. Maybe you might feel better about yourself. You give somebody some clothes. You maybe do some meditation. Now that's very popular. Maybe do some meditation. Maybe you go to the gym. You might help yourself by going to the gym, or you go on a run, or you wake up early, or you join the 5 a.m. club, or you do some reading. Maybe you start eating some healthy food. So in that sense, maybe you're enjoying in the mode of goodness. Sorry, not enjoying. Sorry, you're trying to alleviate the suffering in the mode of goodness. But ultimately, these are dictated by the modes and they are temporary reliefs of suffering, right? Is alcohol going to stop your suffering? No. Is buying a nice house going to stop your suffering? No. Is giving to charity going to stop your suffering? No. So what is the essence and how can we stop that suffering? How can we stop what people are going through? And beyond all of these modes, the way of stopping is through devotional service. And the point to make and the point to take here is when you water the root of a tree, the rest of the tree is nourished. And when we water the root of devotional service, when we water the tree through devotional service to the Lord, the rest of the tree flourishes, right? Like Prabhupada says, like he says, everyone is trying to become happy according to their own mental concoction or endeavor. But there cannot be any unalloyed happiness. That is the nature of the material world, right? It's a world full of suffering. And Prabhupada mentions, the knowledge in the matter of the bodily necessities of eating, mating, fearing, transform into various branches of advancement of knowledge. Like, so we're trying to get better at eating, we're trying to get better at sleeping, we're trying to get better at defending, we're just trying to get better and better. Like, how can I enjoy more food? How can I enjoy more mating? How can I enjoy better sleep, longer sleep? All of these things are just various ways of the same thing, right? We're just trying to alleviate our suffering. Now, just because we get some temporary relief, is that real? Is that really a stop in suffering? No. Real stop in suffering is when you connect to the Lord. Why? Krishna describes the nature of the soul is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. And the ultimate nature is Krishna Nityadas. I am the servant of Krishna. That is my eternal nature. When the Lord is happy, I get satisfaction, right? That is the natural tendency for the soul. That is the identity of the jiva. Now, when you're not authentic with your identity, you're not going to be happy, right? You're not aligned. That's not natural you. So here in the material world, we are suffering because we are not in our natural state and not in our natural condition. What is a natural condition? To love God, to serve God, to be a servant of God. So So we have to really understand this point. How can I connect with my Lord? How can I serve my Lord in a way where I can love him, connect to him? And the devotees, what do? They chant, they dance, they sleep, they chant, they dance, they have prasad, and they serve other devotees. And this is the missionary work of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, he wanted us to spread this mission. He wanted us to give this knowledge to other people. This was the ultimate welfare work. Lord Chaitanya made it very clear. What is the ultimate welfare work? And the ultimate welfare work is to give people Krishna consciousness. Yare deke tare kaha Krishna upadesh. Right? So Lord Chaitanya, he very clearly said, instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Shri Krishna as they have been given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this from CC, Madhya Leela 7.1 to 8. And he emphasizes actually we should see and speak about Krishna all the time because ultimately that's the most ultimate welfare work. Yes, you can give somebody a blanket. So I mean, I often speak to these boys, like that are doing this philanthropic work. So it's even some devotees, recently I had some devotees and they were trying to do some welfare work for their project, and they wanted to give blankets and toothpaste and creams and hand wash and all these things. And I said, yeah, that's great, good idea. But how are you helping their devotional life? How are you helping their soul? It's interesting because their actual thing was called something soul giving or something. I can't remember exactly, but soul something. And I said, okay, well, you're saying on your branding that you want to help the soul. How are you helping the soul? Okay, you give them some washing up, you give them some toothpaste, some food, but how does it help the soul? Um, well, we have to reflect. Like, are we doing mundane charity work, or are we actually trying to help others and help them in their Krishna consciousness, help them back to Godhead? Because otherwise, yeah, I can give somebody some soap. Okay, it'll clean their external, but is it going to affect their mind? Is it going to affect their consciousness? Will it clean their consciousness? Srila Prabhupada said when he was questioned by reporters and there was allegation, Prabhupada, the reporter said, Prabhupada, Swamiji, we hear that you're getting a lot of accusations that you're brainwashing your disciples. And then Srila Prabhupada, he smiled and he said, yes, I am brainwashing because their brains are very dirty, so the brains need washing. So Srila Prabhupada gave a very nice answer, but if you look at it deeply, it's true. Everyone's brain is so contaminated. What are we giving to cleanse the internal brain? This is why we have the Maha Mantra. Man means to free. Man means mind, and Tra means to free. This is why the Maha Mantra is so important. We need to give people the Maha Mantra. That is the ultimate welfare work. Hearing about Krishna, singing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna, chanting Krishna's name, that is the ultimate welfare work. And I'm telling you guys, take it on yourself. Go out there, preach, chant, give it to people. They need it everywhere you go. Can't remember where I'm hearing this, but I don't know if it was this in this class maybe or somewhere else. I can't remember, but somebody would always take a book with them wherever they go. I don't know if it's Bhakti Tirtha Swami. I can't remember. Maybe later somebody can say, but the Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he advised something like, wherever you go, you should take a book with you just in case you meet someone and you have to preach to them and you can give them a book. So we have to have that mood, like, okay, how can I give this person Krishna consciousness in some way, shape, or form? And the interesting thing is that, and I'm just emphasizing this point of the greatest welfare work and how we can do that welfare work and why it's so important. So the interesting thing is that as devotees, on the external level, it doesn't seem so efficient. Like if I'm going to really do welfare work, I need to make a strategy and I need to think, okay, how do I target the people that are most in need? And then I target the people that are low-hanging fruits. I make a funnel, and then the funnel will come, and then okay, I'll preach strategically. I'll make this, and then they'll come to me, and then then they'll go through this journey, and it'll be like a pathway. Now the thing is that with devotional service, it doesn't work like a normal business or a normal way of attracting. Like you would say, okay, how do I reach? It doesn't the strategy. There's no such the strategy element is it's not the same. Why? Because devotional service and connecting with the devotees, connecting with Krishna, it's not something that happens over one lifetime or over one moment. It happens over many, many lifetimes, and in one lifetime, it could have the touch points can happen over many times. So when we learn as devotees, when we come to Krishna as devotees, it's like a spiral. We're learning in a spiral manner, not in a linear manner. Mundane knowledge is learned in a linear manner, whereas devotional service and connection with Krishna is more of a spiral. Why? So then basically you get many different touch points. So for example, you're in the street and you get somebody to touch a book, or you get them to chant, and that leaves an impression in their heart. 2 years later, they meet another devotee, and the devotee gets them to chant, but this time they not only chant, but they also take a book. And then a year later, 2 years later, they meet another devotee and they say, "Oh, Hare Krishna, please chant, please read this book." And they're like, "Whoa, I already got this book and I wanted to read it, but I didn't read it. Now I'm gonna go home, now I'm gonna read it." So they read the book. And then again, they're on the street again and they meet another devotee, or maybe they're in a different country and they meet another devotee, and the devotee says, "Hey, we have a temple program. Like, why don't you come? There's prasad here." So again, they could connect in that way. And even in your life, maybe you can reflect, many, many different touch points. So therefore, as a society, as devotees, it's our mission, regardless of what the result we may think we may be getting, like we don't know, right? You don't know what imprint you're leaving on that person's heart. And it could be maybe even not in this lifetime, but in the next lifetime. So therefore, this is the greatest welfare work. When if you can bring someone or be a part of someone's journey about seeing the Lord face to face, coming back to Him, connecting with Him, then you are performing that service of welfare work, and that's the greatest service of the Lord. Because why? Because we're feeding the soul, right? We're connecting the soul. This is the most nourishing activity out there. Is our eternal nature. We're stuck in this material world, and we need to get out of this material world, right? Everyone's looking to escape in one sense or another, right? Either some people escape by watching Netflix, they escape by going on holiday, escape by sleeping, escape by going for a run. They want to leave their problems, they want to leave things behind. We're all looking to escape this world, one sense or another. But what we don't realize is when your movie stops, right, you come back to reality. When you sleep, you have to wake up. When you go on a run, you have to come back home. When you go on holiday, the holiday usually ends. You have to come back. So these are all temporary reliefs from our suffering, right? The ultimate relief is when we can go back home, back to Godhead, back to Krishna. And how do we go back to Krishna? What is the way back to Krishna? Well, the way back to Krishna is performing devotional service. And the greatest devotional service, the greatest welfare activity is speaking about Krishna, thinking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna, and spreading Krishna consciousness to others. Because, Srila Prabhupada had given this formula. And the formula is like a 2-for-1. I don't know, maybe if you guys have it there, but here we have a 2-for-1. You buy one, you get one free. Okay. And devotional service is like that. It's a buy one, get one free offer. You give Krishna consciousness, you become Krishna conscious. Right? So the more you give Krishna consciousness, the more you become Krishna conscious. Buy one, get one free. Right? Give Krishna conscious, become Krishna conscious. So this is the formula of Prabhupada, and he's very expertly engaged us in this formula of welfare work. He's very smartly giving us the cheat code, the backdoor entrance of becoming devotees. He knows, is we're not able to sit in tapasya for a long time. We're not able to have deep sadhana. All these things are important. But Prabhupada knows that the real way back to Godhead is through serving his mission, making others Krishna conscious, giving it to others, giving what you have to others. I heard this story today, and I'll end on this story. There was a tree, and there was a tree that had many, many fruits. And what was happening is this tree had many juicy and nourishing fruits. What was happening is nobody was taking the fruits from this tree. All the birds would move past, the monkeys would move past, the humans would move past, and nobody would take any fruits from that tree. So somebody asked, why is this tree, or the tree asked, why is nobody taking my fruits? And the answer was given that, well, basically in your past life, you were a devotee of the Lord, and you had all of this knowledge, you had received so much, but you didn't share with anybody else. And therefore, in this life, you've come back as a tree where nobody wants to take the fruits that you have. You can understand the value of giving what you have to others. So we all have received many, many different fruits. We have all received many different um, many different many different nectars, many different knowledge. You've received Krishna consciousness. Therefore, I encourage everyone, and we all have to take this point on, is to become welfare workers of the Lord, by doing devotional service. Be Krishna conscious and give Krishna consciousness. Whether you're in whichever department, whether you're in Pujari, you're helping people see the Lord and get ecstatic experience of the Lord. You're cleaning the temple, you're cleaning the floor so it looks nice and clean, so then people can appreciate the temple. Whatever service you are doing, whether you're on books, whether you're preaching, whether you're giving a class, whatever facility you are performing, it helps connect others to the Lord. And this is ultimately the greatest welfare work of society. So in summary, we talked about Vidura. We talked about how Vidura was a devotee of the Lord, and he, in essence, was asking the right questions because he was eager to hear about the Lord, and how we should be eager to hear about the Lord. We heard a bit about background about Vidura, who he was, and how we can take inspiration from him. We heard the importance of asking the right questions. And then we went on to talking about welfare work. What is the ultimate welfare work? Why is it needed so much right now in this Kali Yuga? And the importance of welfare work in this time right now. And what is that welfare work? It's not any of the things that we think our society thinks it is. They're suffering, they've tried everything, and we have now come to the level of Krishna consciousness. We've understood it, or at least understood part of it. We've tried it, we know it works, we know it gives you the satisfaction. Therefore, it's now our responsibility to share that with the world, share that with others, perform devotional service, which gives us the ultimate welfare work for others. Thank you very much. Open up to you. Any questions, comments, corrections, and any discussions? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Raj Mukunda Prabhu, for sharing this depth of wisdom with us. And more especially, and I think more importantly, the story about the tree that had juicy fruits, but nobody would pick the fruits. And it is because in his previous life he was a devotee. and he refused to share what he was given. So we all should try to give what we've received. Thank you for reminding and encouraging us on this point. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, realizations, reflections, you may want to ask or share, please. Madhavan Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for giving us this very wonderful lecture and for also giving us your wonderful time. My comment, my question briefly, or my concern. I believe Krishna is all merciful, and whenever there is distress or problems, the purpose is just to make people come to realizing God. But to my surprise, even though things are getting much more difficult, but I've not seen a lot of people coming to the temple, you know. So when you mention about washing the brain, maybe the brain needs to be washed, because I expected that people will take more to Krishna consciousness, because even people, they realize that even the churches, the mosques, they are not doing very well. You know, they have commercialized the whole system or the process. But to my surprise, people are not, the response I expected from people turning to Krishna consciousness or accepting our philosophy or our preaching, it's not a direct proportion. So when you mention something about washing the brain, I think maybe it's necessary, but please tell us how we can wash the brain to make it easy for people to turn to Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna. Thank you so much for your wonderful question, and it's so relevant. And yeah, it's a relevant question, and it's a question that I think many people have. And in essence, your question is, why are people not coming to the temple despite us having that great philosophy, us having we're trying, and many people aren't coming. They're not feeling it. They're not coming through. How do we wash their brains to, come to the temple? See, my realization lately has been on this point is people don't necessarily care how much you know, right? They don't really care how much information you have, how much you know, what you can say to them, you know. They're not interested. What people are really interested is they want to know how much you care, right? So it's not how much they don't care how much you know, but they care how much they want to know how much you care. So when we're dealing with people and we want them to come to the temple and we want them to come to Krishna consciousness, we have to take a big interest into their life. We have to take a big interest to them into what's going on. We have to really give them that personal love, attention, and care. Right? That is the missing piece in this puzzle here. And the reason why it's important is, and the reason why we miss it, or what I can analyze, is we sometimes feel like giving them philosophy is the way forward. Like we give them philosophy and then they will automatically come and they'll just get it. But we don't apply the philosophy, right? We have to live the philosophy and apply it. And what does that mean? That means we have to really take care of the people that we want to come. We really have to, if they're interested, then, you have to call them up. Hey, how are you? How's your day going? Oh, what you up to? Oh, your son's got exams. Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to the temple. Would you like to come? You know, that you have to, oh, okay, this happening in your life, and you just listen. You listen, you take care. You have to be personal and take a real interest in someone's life. And then if you can do that, if you can be personal with them, they're gonna be attracted. And the thing is, that's what they're looking at. That's what they're looking for from you because you're a representative of God to them, right? You're closer to Krishna than they are, right? Now, because you're closer to Krishna, you're closer to the Lord, they want to know how much does the Lord care about them or how much does the devotee of the Lord care about them. Okay, if the Lord is so loving and caring, then this person who's a friend of the Lord, who is closer to the Lord than I am, surely is going to care about the problems that I have, or what's going on in my mind. They're going to really take an interest. If we as a society, and I'm not saying you, I'm saying me and everyone here, as a society can just take that upon us to really give people that personal love and care and attention, then we can really get to the heart of people. You know, we can really get to the to connect with people. And you know, one thing I heard very recently is sometimes we want to do preaching in a way like many people. You know, we want to attract many people and do big things. But you know, sometimes it's okay if you just focus on one person at a time. You know, you just focus on, okay, this one person is very interested in the Krishna conscious philosophy. Let me give them my attention, my time, whatever they need to bring them up to the level of them coming to the temple regularly, attending Mangalarti, attending the sessions, you know, attending classes. But then it doesn't stop there, you know, even as devotees, we all need to care for each other. We need to take interest. We need to have love and care for each other. And yeah, it is an interesting phenomenon. Many, you know, I was in New Vrajadam recently. I'm just speaking very candidly, so please forgive me if I say anything out of line. I went to New Vrajadam and I noticed that like many people weren't coming to the temple. Like I was like it's like there's 150 people live on the farm, and then it's not like the Mangal Arati is full, right? Now, whatever, there may be other reasons, there may be whatever reasons for that. You know, that always the temple isn't full. Um, and there's some places where the temple is thriving. So we have to dissect, why are people not coming? What are we missing? Are we giving them good prasad? Are we causing offenses when they come? Or are we really trying to take care of them? You know, I do a lot of preaching projects and a lot of you know, outreach. And one thing we make sure is any new person is never left alone. You know, they're taken care of, they're spoken to. There's a real interest. There's a follow-up. We take their WhatsApp number, we message them, we, you know, say, hey, why don't you? We try and be friends with them. You know, that makes sense. So this is such an important you know, part of the philosophy. Is the philosophy is there, we read it, but we need to apply the philosophy.
I quite agree with you 100%. Thank you very much. I've learned some techniques from you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thanks for asking that question.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, thank you, Madhava Prabhu, for that beautiful question. And Raj Mukunda, thank you for the wonderful answer. Yes, Anadi Niranam Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
My network is not that stable, so please pardon me. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams. So, Prabhu, I joined lately, but I heard a little bit about when you were saying about Krishna consciousness is all about you give one, then you get one. So, what happened to those who give Krishna consciousness to someone, but later they themselves left the movement? What will be the result of such people? Am I
So
audible?
somebody, yes, Haribol. Yeah, so somebody
Yeah,
gives Krishna
you mean,
consciousness.
yeah, Krishna, yes.
He's asking, you said that Krishna consciousness is you give, it's like buy one, get one free.
Mm.
So you give,
Exactly.
you give one, you get one. So there are so many devotees who preach, so they are given Krishna, so they also gaining or getting Krishna. But there comes a point in time that these people who have gained so much of Krishna, they happen to leave the movement. So he's wondering what is the cause of such a situation.
Yeah, it's very interesting. The other day we were on the street and we were in London, on the streets of London, and I was walking with the temple president. We were going to his flat, and we saw a Prabhupada disciple, and the Prabhupada disciple had left the movement, but he was still very favorable, if that makes sense. So he was like, he saw us and he was like, Hare Krishna. Because I normally walk past the Soho temple, but today I didn't. I'm going on a different route, but I met you guys. Krishna is there for me, you know. So he's not. And then I spoke to the president and he says, telling me, yeah, he's not practicing, but he was a devotee. And from that generation, many, many people gave their lives, their youth to Prabhupada. He gave everything to them. And they gave everything to him. Like they gave their youth. And you can see many, many people left, many people left the movement, and many people leave Krishna consciousness. It can happen. And I've really tried to understand, and I'm nowhere near as in Krishna consciousness the length of time as a lot of senior people here. So you guys please also can comment. But from what I understand is, we have to, when we're giving Krishna consciousness, we have to, have the right mood and the right motive of giving Krishna consciousness. And we have to reflect and see our relationship with Krishna and develop that relationship. If we don't have a relationship with Krishna and we're just doing it for, we're just doing it for our own gratification or our own reasoning. And if you reflect deeply, there will be maybe, yes, you like to do devotional service, but often it's mixed. Maybe you have some other motive, maybe deep down you like, some part of it. So we have to reflect and see, okay, why am I doing this service? And generally the idea is you keep on serving until you come out of that the thing is, just because you're in the movement for a long time, it doesn't mean that you've advanced. Advancement comes when you have a change in character and you allow, when you associate and you allow and you accept the instructions from Guru, whether it's a Shiksha Guru or a Diksha Guru, unless you are humble enough to get corrected, right? Then it's going to be very hard for you to make a change and then also make a relationship with Krishna, because it's always going to be mixed. So we have to have that humble attitude. We have to be humble to be corrected and do the internal work. And with that internal work, it allows us to Krishna to enter our heart and Krishna to work, and give us that love, that bhakti. So I think there's many answers to this, but I'll just keep it short. Is one is people leave because they haven't developed that relationship with Krishna. Two, they leave because they haven't done the internal work and they haven't had the humility. They haven't got the humility to accept, that that love or that direction from Krishna. And then the third point I would make is, in like Krishna says in the Gita, there's no loss in the spiritual path. you know? So even if people leave Krishna consciousness, um, there is no loss. They've not lost anything, they've only gained. So whether it be in this life, whether it be in the next life. And interesting, when I was walking with the temple president, and when we left and we were talking about Prabhupada and how he gave his youth and stuff, the temple president actually he said to me, "Oh, yeah, these people, these Prabhupada disciples gave their youth," and he goes, "But I guarantee you that when it comes to their time of leaving their body, Prabhupada will be waiting for them." Because Prabhupada was so grateful for the service. So whatever service is performed, we have to understand that Prabhupada is so grateful, Krishna is so grateful, and we should also adopt that mood. If somebody leaves, we should go out of our way to care for them, to nurture for them, to bring them back. I mean, there's a story of I think it's Jayananda Swami, Jayananda, sorry, not Swami, Jayananda. And I think there was some devotee that left, and he was working in a butcher's. And he left and he's working in a butcher's, and then something happened, and then Jayananda was looking for him, and then he finally found him, and he was in the butcher's, and then he said, "Oh, is this person there?" And then he was at the back, and then Jayananda went there, and then he saw him, and then he said, "Oh, are you okay?" He didn't chastise him. "What are you doing? Why are you in the butcher's?" He actually cared for him. He loved him. He nurtured him. "Are you okay? What's been happening? Why you left?" Da, da, da. And that devotee just broke down in tears. He goes, "I really didn't want to leave, and I really, really didn't want to go through this." And so, yeah, it is unfortunate people leave, but I feel like we have to be humble, and realize working on ourselves, and see, form that relationship with Krishna, because that is ultimately is what's going to happen. And the service we do what allows us to form that relationship with Krishna. When you're doing that service, when you're doing books, always try and think of Krishna, or think of the mood, or see his hand in this. I'm sure there's many answers to this, and there's maybe more senior qualified people that can also shed some light than myself.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Right, Mukunda Prabhu. And Adinidanam, thank you for your question. Very important question with very relevant answer. Anyone else with something to share or to ask? Actually, we've read and heard so many preaching about Ajamil and his son Narayan, and how the Vishnudutas came to save him. Of course, Srila Prabhupada also warns that one should not use that as an excuse to do nonsense and hope that in the final days he is going to call on Lord Vishnu's name, whether referring to Vishnu or name given to his child, and the Vishnudutas will appear. But right, Mukunda Prabhu, you're absolutely right in the sense that my dear big brother here, Harichakra Prabhu, once shared a story with me that one disciple of Srila Prabhupada, he helped Srila Prabhupada so much, like you're saying, in the early days of the movement. They sacrificed their lives. They didn't care whether they were going to die, they were not going to die, whether they have something to. They didn't care about anything. All they cared about was pleasing Srila Prabhupada. So somehow he was not very active, and he was sick. He was in the hospital. He was on his hospital bed. He could not speak. He could not eat. And then the nurses went to see him at a point, and the nurses saw all of a sudden he just sat up in his bed and he spoke. He said, "Oh, Srila Prabhupada, you're here." And he fell back. And that was the end of him. So, of course, like I was talking about Ajamil and the Narayan pastime, that does not mean that we should bloop and expect our gurus to come and save us at the end. But it reminds and assures us that there is no loss, there is no diminution in devotional service. Now, the question you beautifully answered by Anadi Didanam, why those who give Krishna and gain Krishna, they've given Krishna so many times, so they've gained Krishna so many times, why do they leave? My Gurudev answered that question. And Gurudev, His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, said that we are in Lord Chaitanya's army. We are soldiers of Lord Chaitanya. And as soldiers, we go to the war front. And when one of our soldiers get wounded, we try to save and rescue that particular wounded soldier. But as we are trying to help and rescue such a wounded soldier, we should be very sure that we are good, strong enough to save. Otherwise, we ourselves will also face a fatality or calamity. So sometimes we're just happy talking to people. We ourselves think that we are well situated. Others need us, but we do not practice. And I'm sure we all have heard how many times Srila Prabhupada said he wrote his books for his disciples to study them. But oftentimes we think that the people we're distributing the books to, they need to read. We do not need to read. I remember one time I was distributing books and I had not studied that book, Renunciation Through Wisdom. I had not read that book at all. I didn't know anything inside that book. And one guy I was giving the book to asked me, "So what does this book talk about?" I simply say how to become okay in this world. I didn't know anything. So I remembered why what Srila Prabhupada said that you should study the books. So we should try to become devotees ourselves before we try to make others devotees. Well, that is what I would like to add to what has been beautifully said already by Raj Mukunda Prabhu. Thank you, devotees. His Grace Shrimad Prabhu, please you may unmute.
Jai Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to that and the devotees. Very nice. Thank you very much for sharing. This is a very sensitive question that Anadi Nidana Prabhu just asked. Sometimes we worry about why people come and they don't stay. It's a rhetoric question often. There are certain verses that can help us. I think there's one verse, first chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita, text 3, Manusyanam Sahasrisu. Out of many thousands of among men, one may aspire for knowledge. And out of those who have knowledge of Krishna, those who have attained perfection, hardly one knows him in truth. So that we have to understand that, like the Christians say, many are called, few are chosen. So that is there in chapter 7, text 3. We should always remember that the Krishna himself already mentioned that not everybody who comes may stay. And then there is also chapter 7, text 16. Map. 4 types of people, 4 types of people surrender to Krishna. So people come for different reasons, but those who eventually stay are those who come really in search of knowledge. And Krishna says that they are very dear to him. Then there is another verse in the SRIMAD BHAGAVATAM, first canto, chapter 5, text 17, where it is mentioned that what is the loss if somebody execute his material duties, and if somebody tries to serve Krishna and then he does not attain perfection, what is the loss? And what is the gain if somebody attain perfection in his material activities? At the end, what is his gain? I think if you can check it, first canto, chapter 5, text 17. Very nice verse. So, and actually, like Prabhu said, there's no loss. Like Krishna said in chapter 2, text 40 also, Neha Bikramana Susti. So, if I'm right, is that the verse 1, first canto, chapter 5, text 17? Is that it? I cannot see.
One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature state. Yet, there is no danger of his being unsuccessful.
Right.
On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything.
Exactly. Just like the Christians say. The Christians say, what does the Bible, Jesus Christ said, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? So Bhagavatam gives us a better understanding of that you may, be successful materially, but if you do not realize whom you are or the goal of life, what is the benefit of that? And a devotee may try and he may give up on the way due to some reasons, but what is the loss? Yes, nothing's lost. So these are scriptural references to strengthen us and know that if somebody falls by the way, that is not a sign that the system is not working or the teachings are not perfect. And Srila Prabhupada is quoted as saying that we should not be disturbed about those who leave. We should rather be surprised about those who stay after many, many years doing the same thing, chanting Hare Krishna, taking care of the deities, going out preaching, and for many, many years they're still around. That is what should really surprise us, not those who come and go, because that will always happen. That will come, people will come and go. And then one last point, this is so first, you should try to remember the scriptural references about why people can live on the path of devotion. That is always there. But another point, which I would like to add from experience, is that many people come and they are very sincere and very innocent, very sincere about the search for Krishna. But they find it difficult to distinguish between Krishna consciousness and the institution. I mean, just like people are into Christianism and not after Christ. So there's a difference between Christianism or Christianity and Christ. The same thing in Krishna consciousness. There's a difference between Krishna consciousness and ISKCON or whatever association or society. And that's what usually most of the time confuse people. They take the failings of an institution as if it is Krishna consciousness itself. It's not. We give our life to God, and the teachings of Krishna is perfect. It can always inspire us as long as we surrender to that, and we always, try to remember them. But as far as institutions or societies are concerned, whether Christian church or it's a mosque or a temple or association, this can always fail us. We always find things that will disturb us from this. But that is not what we've given our life to. We've given our life to Krishna based on his teachings, and those teachings don't change. They inspire us from the first day we came, and they can always inspire us forever as long as we continue to remember those teachings. So this is my little contribution. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. What you consider little is huge and humongous. Thank you so much. All right, Mukunda Prabhu, do you have something to comment or say in all
Yeah,
these
thank you.
sharings?
Thank you so much for it was a beautiful point, and I really like the last point, how we shouldn't think of the failings of our institution to be failings of, Krishna consciousness. I think most people you speak to, they will say like, I had no problem with the philosophy, I had no problem with Prabhupada, I had no problem with, what was being taught. It was more they leave because of institutional issues or personal problems, and yeah, that this is a, it is, like, there is faults. There's faults in ISKCON, there's faults in the society, there's always going to be various things that people can't tolerate, and we just have to be better. We have to understand. One thing someone told me once, and I guess as a leader, maybe they were telling me this, which is important. But if somebody leaves, it's your fault. And I was a bit like, whoa. But I guess it was kind of not that it's actually my fault. It could be my fault, but I think that the message was mainly we have to really, if somebody's upset or they have a problem, we have to really take care, be attentive, try our best to help them, support them, give them, what they need. And I love the analogy of the battlefield, we're in Chaitanya, Lord Chaitanya's army. And if we have a person wounded, what do? We try and save them, we help them. Maybe there's a few of you go together, that can manage. And Lord Chaitanya, this is what he came for. He came to give mercy, to deliver the fallen souls. We're all fallen. We're all like Jagai and Madai. And yeah, also the material energy is so strong, it's really, really powerful. So yeah, I really, really liked what you guys shared. It's a very, very valid point.
Well, thank you so much, Prabhuji, speaking to us from the Queen's City, London.
Queen is dead.
Anyone else with something before we bring this to a close today? Oh, Sri Hari Chakra Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, then over pranam, all goes to Gurudev, all goes to Prabhupada, and all goes to the assembled devotion. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful class, the answers you've given to the question. I'm sure, I mean, Varaha Prabhu has already given elaborate information about the question Anandini Dhanam Prabhu asked. But the little I have to contribute towards that is what my Guru Maharaj, Slavakiketa Swami, used to say. He says that if you go to the hospital, if you are really sick and you go to the hospital, basically you don't look at what the nurse is telling you. I mean, or the other patients, especially the other patients who are at the hospital. You don't look at what they are saying or what they are doing to you and decide that because of what they are doing, I'm not going to take treatment. I'm going back home to go and die. If you are really sick and you are serious to get healed, then you overlook all those things and stay and make sure that you get your medication from the doctor and then get healed. So similarly, like Varaha Prabhu was saying, when we join the institution, when we come to ISKCON, we fail to realize that we are in a hospital. Most of the time, we tend to think that everybody in that hospital is a perfect person. Everybody in that hospital is like a doctor, a perfect person. So immediately we detect some sickness with one of them, then it becomes like, oh, I have to leave, forgetting about your own disease. So it's like it's not proud used to say that we should acknowledge that we are in the hospital and that we should have the determination that we want to see the doctor. If even we have to be in line for a little bit to for our turn to come up, for us to go there, get the consultation, get the medication, and then we apply the medication. Then eventually we'll get you and be okay. So that is the little contribution that I have, because Guru Dev used to give that analogy a lot, that you should always recognize that we are in the hospital, and that no matter what it takes, we are ready to wait for our turn to come to get our medication and then apply the medication and get healed.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing, Hare Chakra Prabhu. And Mukunda Prabhu, thank you for the wisdom shared with us, and more importantly, your patience and making this kind of more of interactive. Thank you.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you so much. It's been so nice being here, and I've also learned so much from you also. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve. I'm so grateful.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So, devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Raj Mukunda Prabhu. Jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Ram, Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhata
Panchakapatavritta Kripasundya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo
Anantakoti
Namaha.
Vaishnava Vrinda ki
Hey.
Jai. All glories to Raj Mukunda Prabhu ki Jai.
Jai.
All those assembled Vaishnava ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas. Before we go,